Good afternoon, everyone. I am here today with Amy McGarry, and she's going to be talking about nursing home Medicaid here in Florida. So I'm going to let her get into it, and I will make sure to include her contact information at the end of the video as well. So take it away, Amy.
Thanks. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to financially qualify for nursing homes. It's not going to go in depth, but it is going to talk about the different assets and income and how that works. So we're going to move on to the next slide here. Okay, so let's first talk about the assets. So this would be after we already know that we have a level of care that a person needs Medicaid. Then we sit down and we're going to look and see what the person and their spouse's assets are and break those down into countable assets and exempt or non-countable assets. So the Medicaid applicant can have $2,000 in countable assets, and the community spouse, the one not going on Medicaid, can have $137,400 in the year 2022, and this number does get adjusted every year. So if you're watching this video in 2023 or beyond, make sure that you check to talk to an elder law attorney, and they will let you know what the current number is for the community spouse. So countable assets are basically any bank accounts that you would have, brokerage accounts that are not considered what we call qualified accounts or retirement accounts. So these are just straight stocks and bonds, money market accounts that may be held under a brokerage account. Bank accounts are not only savings and checking accounts, but also money markets, CDs, things like that. Real property, this is going to be like vacant land, second home. We do have a lot of snowbirds down here. That is going to be counted. Cash value of life insurance over $2,500 for that cash value, and that's all the life insurance added up for one person. Annuities, unless they are Medicaid qualified annuities, and there are specific rules to that. Boats and motorcycles, and basically any other resource or asset that does not fall under the exempt or non-countable asset. Again, it's so important to talk to an elder law attorney to actually go through this. This is just a brief description and is not going in depth on all this. So exempt and non-countable assets are your homestead property. Even if you are in the nursing home, your homestead property is still protected. Those IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, those qualified accounts, as long as the owner of the account is taking periodic distributions through required minimum distributions. That's what the RMD stands for. Any automobiles, so you're allowed one automobile, and any additional car would be over 7 years old. Unless it's some sort of classic car, then of course those are going to have most likely a value, and then they will be considered a countable asset. Rental real estate, as long as it's being rented, can be considered exempt, but the income will be counted, and we'll be talking about income in a little bit. A burial or cremation plan, as long as it's irrevocable, which just means that you call the funeral home and just tell them that you are going on Medicaid, or the person is going to be going on Medicaid, and we need to make it irrevocable. And it's just initialing a paragraph that they have on that. Any real estate listed for sale for fair market value is going to be considered exempt. Any unmarketable property, so you may have a vacant piece of property in the middle of Florida that's swampland that nobody can get to, and you can't even sell. That would be unmarketable. If you co-own that property with somebody else other than your spouse, and they refuse to sell it, that can be considered unmarketable property. If you place funds in a pooled trust, this is a type of special needs trust. This is also going to be not counted. And any of those, we talked about annuities that follow those certain Medicaid rules. So this is just an example of exempt assets and then the countable assets. So let's talk about income. So income is what's considered countable income, which is almost all of your income. We are looking at gross income when it comes to income for Medicaid. So that is before any deductions for taxes, for health insurance, for Medicare premiums. We would need to have those amounts. So that would be your Social Security, pension, your VA, veterans pension, any interest or dividends. Those require minimum distributions on your retirement accounts, any annuity payments, alimony that you would receive. Remember, we talked about the rental income. So the rental income, any loan payments, long-term care insurance payments, workers' compensation, and any payments that were coming from an irrevocable trust made payable to you as the applicant or the spouse. Excluded payments are the aid and attendance portion, not the pension portion of the VA aid and attendance. We would get a breakdown letter from the Veterans Administration for that. But once somebody goes on nursing home Medicaid, also known as institutional care Medicaid, it's ICP Medicaid, that payment is going to be reduced to $90 a month. If somebody is on home and community-based Medicaid, such as assisted living or in the home, or using the money for a daycare, then there is no reduction, but we still do need the breakdown of that. Any reparations or restitution payments, payments from Agent Orange from the Veteran Administration, and Indian tribal payments are examples of income that is not going to be counted. So the income limit for this year is $2,523 per month. So $2,523 per month just for the applicant. If it is over that amount, then we're going to need to do a qualified income trust, which we're going to describe here in a minute. But let's figure out, when somebody is in the nursing home, how much needs to be paid to the nursing home every month. It's called the patient responsibility, or you could think of it as a co-payment of somebody's income. The spouse never needs to use their income to pay for that. We're only looking at the applicant's spouse. So we take that total gross income of the Medicaid applicant. We're going to subtract it for the personal needs allowance that everyone is allowed to have as an applicant, which is currently $130. If they pay any health insurance premium, okay, for Medicare, well, Medicare will start getting paid by Medicaid, so that won't be deducted anymore, but we'll also have the supplemental health insurance or any additional for prescriptions. Those premiums also will get deducted out, because Medicaid wants to make sure that you keep your good health insurance and make sure that Medicaid stays as the insurer of last resort. And then if the spouse gets any income diverted over to them, depending on a calculation that we do, then we can divert some of the income over to your spouse, so that your spouse, the Medicaid applicant's spouse, can also, that community spouse can get some, if not all, of the Medicaid applicant's income. Then after subtracting that out, then we're going to have the patient responsibility that every month that the person in the nursing home has to pay from their income to pay to the nursing home, and then the remainder will be picked up from Medicaid. So what happens if somebody is over the Medicaid income limit? So if in the year 2022, the income limit is $2,523 a month. If that is needed, then we need to set up an income trust, a qualified income trust. This is a type of special needs trust that we're only going to be putting the applicant's income into. It has to hold every month at least that overage amount. So if somebody has $2,623 per month as their gross income, then at least $100 has to run through the qualified income trust every month. And then from there, medical expenses, basically your patient responsibility at the nursing home, will be paid from that income trust. So the money still has to be coming in from the income source to the regular checking or savings account of the applicant. Then from there, it will bounce into the trustee will move it from the regular account into the qualified income trust account, and then from the qualified income trust account to pay to the nursing home every month. When a person passes away, though any monies remaining in that income trust do have to go back to the state of Florida for Medicaid recovery, but there should be really a minimal amount in there because the money is just flowing through that income trust account every month. And so it's only if it was that small time period between moving the money from, the checking account into the qualified income trust account that the person passes away before it goes to the nursing home. That should be it. You never want to let the income trust build up in money because that was money that needs to be paid to the nursing home every month. The spouse's income, again, is not used to calculate the income limit, okay? It is the spouse's income. It is in a separate calculation for an income diversion to the spouse to have it go lower. But it's never, the spouse's income is never used to pay for the patient responsibility, okay? So what are some frequently asked questions? I know this is a very short presentation, and we can answer more questions in the future or have some future, quick little ones like this. And so, but some frequently asked questions is, again, what happens if the applicant makes too much money? Well, we just discussed that. That is using the qualified income trust. If the spouse has over 25, 23 a month, then it does not matter. We do not need to worry about a qualified income trust for the spouse, just the Medicaid applicant. How long does it take for Medicaid to be approved? Well, once the application, we get it over to Department of Children and Families, they have to process it. It really depends. Larger counties are going to take a longer time. As well as how complicated is that application. If the application is a single person, they really didn't have any assets to begin with. We don't have a qualified income trust. We've seen those go through in as short as 1 month. Sometimes they take a little bit longer. And sometimes they get the workers at DCF, Department of Children and Family, is needing additional paperwork that we send up. And so it can take a little bit longer, but it will always retroactive back to, and that's what, as attorneys that we work at, is to make sure that the approval is going to retroactive back to the first day of the month that the application is filed. So even if the person, let's say, is qualified in June, but they do not get the application in until the month of August, it is not going to start, Medicaid will not start paying until August 1st, even if they were qualified under the income and assets and level of care in June. So we do not have retroactive Medicaid anymore in the state of Florida. It is done by the date of the first day of the month that the application is filed. And then what we would get is a letter from DCF that says that Medicaid will start on that date going forward. Applications do have to get reapplied or reapproved every year to make sure that the person has not come into any money, to make sure that the income trust is being used properly every month. But those recertification applications don't take that long, especially if everything is going into things the right way. Another big question we always get, because people are moving to Florida, is what happens if I have Medicaid in another state and I just want to transfer my Medicaid to Florida? You do have to reapply because the laws are different in each state, and each state has different administrative rules. And so we have to follow the rules in Florida, which may not be the same as in other states. So a new application has to be done. Now, if you move from one county to the next, we just do a transfer of the counties because Department of Children and Family is for the whole state of Florida to do that. What happens, and this is a big question we get, what happens with the money? Do you have to go down to $0 or $2,000 to apply? No, even if, like we said, the spouse is allowed to have 137,400 of those countable assets, the Medicaid applicant can only have $200 or $2,000. And so what happens is there is ways and strategies that are approved by the state of Florida that we can use to be able to preserve and protect some of those assets, to be able to get somebody qualified for Medicaid, and then get the application filed and get them approved. So if anybody has any additional questions, Kinsey is going to go ahead and post my information. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. Let us know that you did come over from Dubin and you saw this presentation, and so that we can help you out and see if we can get your loved one qualified for Medicaid, and to help you with that application process. Thanks, Kinsey.
Great. Thank you, Amy.